Can you believe it's finally Friday? Look what we have here. It's the leader, 98.7 and AM 1580 WLIJ. Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, May 31st, and we have a government talk program coming your way right now with the ladies of the Raus Community Center talking about a fundraiser coming up here soon. Sounds great. Mr. Scott Johnson, without further ado, take it away.
Producer Brandon, this is Scott Johnson on behalf of Hopkins Farm Broadcasting here in Shelbyville, Tennessee, Bedford County, about 50 miles south of Nashville, 25 miles south of Murfreesboro, in the lovely and so far sunny Rolling Green Hills of southern Middle Tennessee. We do have a special program today. We have the leadership team from the Raus community out here on the eastern side of the county in to talk about several things. And one of them is the folks, if you haven't heard of it, the Raus Community Center. And we have with us this morning Carol Roberts. Good morning, Carol.
Morning.
And Rebecca Parker.
Hey there, Scott.
And Linda Yockey.
Thank you.
And we appreciate y'all coming in today. I know your main purpose in coming today is to talk about your ice cream supper that will be on Saturday, June 8th at 5 p.m. at 1. Write this down, folks. 125 Smith Chapel Road. Put that in the GPS. And to come get the best hamburgers in Bedford County.
It's and fun. Ice cream. Homemade ice cream.
And ice cream. Well, it did say ice cream supper, didn't it? Best ice cream, too, right?
Homemade.
Best everything. And I've been going to this thing for several years. I just can't believe how many people show up. I mean, because y'all a little bit remote out there in Raus. It's not like right outside of Shelbyville. And you guys get a great turnout. Weather's always been great when you guys have it. But I'll tell you what, let's start out this morning. Carol, you're obviously a well-known historian here in the community. Kind of tell us a little bit about the Raus Community Center and the history for it.
Well, the building itself was our school. It was built in roughly 1888, 1889, 90. It replaced another school there, but it needed to be larger. There were as many as 100, 125 students there at any given time up until the 1930s, 40s, 50s. It shrunk. But we continued it as a historic school building and have continued with the Raus Ice Cream Supper as our major fundraiser and event. And that started when the school closed. And Raus School, due to a lot of citizen support, got to keep the school open a few more years than all the one-room, two-room schools all over the county. They all closed between the 1950s. 1955 was a cutoff date for sure. And so the parents all said, we're not sending our kids to another school. But they also, at the same time, started the Raus Community Improvement Clubs all across the county. That was a big competition. Raus, Butler's Creek, Flat Creek, Longview, Deason all had community improvement clubs, and that was to support the community, to encourage people to do more social outreach, if you will. Even things like helping each other with our cemeteries. You know, you were talking about cemeteries. There have been many cemetery cleanup from all those community clubs and service projects like that. But to get things really going and have a fun social event, they started the ice cream supper. And we've been doing it ever since. Easily 1954, 55.
I was going to ask you roughly how long it's been going on.
Yeah,
so more than 3 or 4 years.
Oh, yes. And we're one of the last ones to hang on and have our community club to continue supporting the community. Again, we still do some events to help the cemeteries. We try to do things like that, and that was always a goal of the community club that took over the building. And that's the other thing, is they took over the responsibility of building when the school board wanted to get rid of it.
When those schools were originally built, like 1880s or even this one a little bit later, were they built by the county, or did the local community just kind of build it and then the county provided teachers?
Yes, it completely varied. I'm finding that more and more since I'm working in the archives as well. But because many of the schools literally started in churches.
Okay, makes sense, yeah.
And both the African American community and in the white communities all across the farm areas.
Okay.
And then they would build schools and they would produce those schools. Then the county had the responsibility. They were required by law to help fund the schools.
Right.
And so they would start doing that. And so we have a lot of real helpful history of the schools and their wells. They would go out and redig the well if they had a well, and they'd go out and then
ours was a spring.
Yeah, we always had a freshwater, still do have a freshwater spring that is actually a landmark for our whole community. Every tract of land around that spring is the schoolhouse spring. And the corner is a schoolhouse spring, and so it's been there even longer than the building.
But my grandfather and your great grandfather and so forth, the community, my understanding is, literally helped in the building, the erection of the building.
That's what I thought a lot of them were done in the beginning, and
this one was an outgrowth of our two earlier what were called academies, and those were funded by the neighbors and trustees.
Okay.
We had Richland Academy, and the land was donated, and then there were a series of trustees just like the same academies in town. There was a Dixon Academy and several others, and so they all had trustees that took responsibility, gathered funding in, and then that became the outgrowth, if you will, or the future of the Board of Education at the turn of the century, well, the first 1900.
So it really wasn't, it was obviously an education facility. It was obviously a community facility.
Yes.
Social. My dad went to a one-room schoolhouse in Minnesota through the 8th grade. He used to talk about they all had to walk to school, right? Because farmers donated the land, farmers built the school, then the county provided a teacher.
Ride the mule.
Right. Yeah, well, they had horses, actually, and a sleigh, because it was Minnesota.
Yeah.
But he said he encountered his first gun control back then, because they all took their squirrel rifles and would hunt on the way. And they had one teacher wouldn't let them bring them in the classroom. They had to leave them in the hallway.
That's
so
right.
that was gun control.
That's exactly right.
Back in the day. But it's a different day and time, obviously.
And the ice cream supper, and Carol can spin off on this too, it's a way for us as a community to work together toward one goal every year. And to me, that's as important as anything. And it's evolved. Carol it's evolved from its look in the 1950s of how we did it to how it is now. Of course, it's lots bigger now.
Right.
Bigger.
Yeah, as you said, it was for the community to get together.
Sure.
It was a perfect opportunity to encourage all of the neighbors to get together for a fun event and socialize and do things. And so that's the background of the 1950s cakewalks and bingo and
the political part of it.
Yeah.
Was that a voting precinct at one time?
Yeah, yes, up until recently.
Okay.
Don't get me started on that one.
Yeah.
But Rheta Farrah Wilson, Daddy Mac Farrah was always running for judge.
Yeah.
James L. Bomer, my cousin, was always running for House representatives, and it was a big political thing too. Red and I probably crawled under every stone structure, those picnic stone structures, and so the politics of it played into it also.
Yeah, it became. We call it downtown Raus sometimes.
That's exactly what it is.
And because it's always been the core of the community to have at one time 3 churches right there together.
You've got 2 churches now,
and we have 2 now.
They're still active congregations.
Yes. And Thompson Creek Baptist Church was the first one in the 1820s.
1820s.
Yeah,
okay.
and then the Presbyterian Church at about the same time as the school building. And then the Church of Christ was the younger congregation there, outgrowth of Flat Creek Church of Christ. And so, and that was about 1919. But that core of that crossroads has all along been, and the school being lost as a school and becoming a community center has in the 1950s is what we want to continue, not only for the community to be a resource, but also to be a social event and fun. And this is our fun event. And like I said, we've always been very proud of the fact that we've always had homemade ice cream. And for years we had ice cream, the big ice cream White Mountain buckets that we had at the building, and then farmed them out to everybody. And then we also had
they were ice cream freezers.
Yes, the ice cream freezers, and then the guys would sit there and freeze what was left as needed. Dale Parker and Bryce Brinkley and many of the older members that would love to sit there and visit while they were cranking ice cream.
And your dad, we have a photograph of
right,
your dad.
would my dad Winston would do it as well, but he usually was worried more about the electrical lights and so forth.
Well, and you guys, of course, we're going to talk more in just a second about the actual fundraiser itself, the ice cream supper, but you guys have a very active. You meet once a month out there.
Yes.
This isn't something you do once a year. I mean, you do with a fundraiser or a couple of fundraisers, but you have a group, and it's a fairly large group. I've been there several times. That meets. When do you guys meet again? Is it the second Saturday? Second Saturday at 6:30?
6:30.
6 p.m. So if anybody's interested and they're interested in the Raus community, I know you guys always have guest speakers out there that come in from various organizations. And what a great way to meet some great people in the community out there. And you have a little kind of potluck supper every month at that time. And I'm glad to see it. Of course, we will give a little plug for Flat Creek, too. They have a very active community center.
They do, and they have also an ice cream supper. I believe it's the first Saturday in August.
Well, we'll have to get them to come in and talk about that.
Yeah, we'll have to get them in. But I don't know that across the county any other two organizations like us who do that now. Of course, 5th District is, I don't want to be prejudiced, but we are the most beautiful part of the county. We're 1/4. We make up 1/4 of the county, but
it's a large
it's a large, active, very diverse part of the county.
Absolutely. So, folks, if you do want to enjoy a little camaraderie and socialization, don't forget, the second Saturday of the month at 6 p.m. Come on out and bring a bag of chips or a gallon of tea or something or whatever, and enjoy a program and some fellowship and out there in Raus. Now, we're going to take a 60-second break, and we're going to come back and talk about the actual ice cream supper.
Shopping for home furnishings doesn't have to be a chore. You want to shop with a name you can trust, who has the better buy for both durability and affordability. Well, good news for folks of Middle Tennessee. There's a hometown source to get you the top brands for less, with wide selection, multiple financing options available, and best of all, honest folks that care for their customers with friendly and helpful customer service. Who's that, you ask? Well, any Shelbyville local can tell you it's gotta be Kincaid's. Kincaid's is a brand source store with $19 billion of buying power. That means you'll be getting the very best value. That's Kincaid Service Company, where service has been their middle name since 1934. Come browse their 11,000 square foot showroom today at 400 Madison Street, or give them a call at 931-684-5662. You can also follow them on Facebook and check out all their selection online at kincaidservice.com. 931-684-5662.
This is Scott Johnson on behalf of Hopkins Farm Broadcasting. We're talking to the ladies of the Raus Community Center coming in today, talk about a little bit about the history of the Raus Community Center, the fundraiser they have coming up with the ice cream supper, and then we'll move on to another fundraiser. They're going to have a really great event a little bit later this year. And to talk about our ice cream supper is Rebecca Parker. She and her husband have a farm right out next to the Raus Community Center there. And tell us a little bit about your event there, Rebecca.
Well, like Linda said a little bit earlier, it's a fun event. And historically, it's been a fun event for the whole community.
It really is.
Even putting it together, making the ice cream, making the desserts. The ladies get together Saturday morning and cut up the tomatoes for the hamburgers. And all of that is part of it that make it really special for the community. And last year, I think we had a record attendance. We always have a good attendance if it's an election year, but last year, I don't think it was.
It was not. It was a really good turnout.
It was. So people, I think the word gets out.
And we're getting people. I had calls from people in Chattanooga, Cleveland, Tennessee, out of state, who saw it in the Home and Farm magazines and the other places that we put the announcements in. And they came. So it's not just the people from Moore County, Scott, or the people from Tullahoma.
Right.
And we're kind of at a crossroads, which makes it nice, or the Bedford County people. But it's become kind of a potpourri of people that I'm always amazed, and it's fun to talk to them.
That's how the Bell Buckle Arts Crest Festival started.
There you go.
Now they get 40,000 in a day.
Scott,
I don't think y'all can handle the parking on that.
we try to keep the price for the hamburgers and the ice cream reasonable because we want people to enjoy it. But the money that we get from this goes to maintaining the grounds and the building, paying for the electric and the insurance. So we really need a good turnout because, like everything else, the prices for maintaining the building have gone up.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Rebecca, because this is to help maintain the actual physical facility.
Right.
You know, whether it's, I know you guys have monthly utility bills like everybody else and that sort of thing. There's things, when the building's that old, you're going to have to do things with it, right?
But Rebecca's been phenomenal on I don't know how we would have ever done all the fundraising that we have taken part, and I hope she tells, goes into that a little bit, but our mission was basically redo the building so the next generation has it, and it's done. Probably hasn't been redone any part of it since, or even remodeled since probably the 60s when my daddy Herschel Bomer and Winston Roberts and all of those in the past would maintain the building, but it had gotten to a point where we needed new roof and new everything.
Significant improvements.
Yes.
Not just washing the windows or something.
I do. Rebecca, how much money have we raised? All of our fundraisers.
We started raising money in 2017 when the building was, like Linda said, we've maintained the building, and there were major repairs maybe done in the 60s, but since that time, nothing had really been done to preserve the structure, and like Carol said, we're going back to 1889, so it needed a lot of help. The foundation was crumbling, the windows were falling out, the door frames were falling out, the roof was leaking, the kitchen had, the support beam was rotten, so there was a lot of things.
You've covered everything in that structure.
Not to mention the electrical wiring was old and dangerous, so we knew that something had to happen. So in that year, at the ice cream dinner, we passed out a flyer that said, give a donation and replace a window. Immediately, we had all of the windows funded to be replaced. People love that building, and the money that has come in over since that time has been from the community. We've applied for grants because we are on the National Historic Registry.
Okay.
But the grant money goes to, there's not that much money, first of all, and it's going to go to large municipalities that have a greater need than Ross, Tennessee. Right. So the money that we have raised has been well over $100,000 since that time, not to mention all of the volunteer labor that has gone into fixing the new foundation, brand new windows,
electrical,
new entries, electrical, replacing the siding on 4 of the 7 walls, new roof. It's been and a new kitchen floor, new cabinets, sheetrock. The building has been really preserved, and hasn't happened in a long period of time.
And in the middle of all that, you had a tornado hit your building.
It took care of one wall.
one wall got demoed thanks to the tornado.
Completely wiped out.
So we had to take a step back before we could take a step forward, but we are.
So let's give out a little facts, folks. And if you got your ink pen out there, write this down or type it into your phone calendar. So when is this ice cream supper?
It is a week from Saturday, June 8th.
June 8th, folks.
Starting at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and it will be rolling good by 5 o'clock.
Rain or shine. We'll go in the building if it's raining.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what the weather is.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Linda, because some folks, they see rain, they get a little scared.
Oh, no, come on. And
well, you have a pavilion there, plus you have inside.
Right.
You got a covered pavilion and you got inside.
Our pavilion has musical group coming.
Oh, you're going to have live music?
Yes,
we do.
Mm-hmm. We have a bluegrass group that...
How appropriate for the Raus Community Center, a bluegrass group. Outstanding. And, I know this. I know it's a lot of families come out there, bring their kids out there. It's just a nice family time out there. And it's actually really good food.
Actually, it is.
It is. So it does say right on here, family fun and homemade ice cream, best grilled hamburgers. Ever? Okay, we'll add that on the list here. Homemade dessert. What kind of homemade desserts do you like?
Oh, every kind.
Pies,
pie,
cobblers,
cakes.
We're not talking about chocolate chip cookies out of the bag from Kroger,
We're
right?
talking about homemade.
No, homemade.
We try to make every effort to have homemade.
So if ice cream's not your thing, you got plenty of other desserts there, and it's a sugar fest down there.
It is.
And I know you guys have a lot of volunteer help that will be helping you out during that time,
including you.
Yes, Scott. Let me give Scott a plug here. Scott is
I got the best job there is.
Our waste removal person, and he does an excellent job. He asked this year if he could keep the same job, and I think we all agreed that he could. He does an outstanding job of changing out the waste cans, and it's taken a major load off of me. So,
well, we're happy to do it. It's a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to that. Now, so folks, don't forget, because we're going to talk about the next fundraiser now, but ice cream supper Saturday, June 8th, 5 p.m. at 125 Smith Chapel Road. That's actually a Tullahoma address, but it's in Bedford County. Very convenient from Tullahoma, Shelbyville, Flat Creek, Lynchburg. I mean, you guys are right in the middle. Motlow College. I mean, you're right there. Put it in there. Put it in your GPS. Come on out. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the county out there.
The downtown Raus.
Mm-hmm. And it is the downtown, the downtown Raus community. You can't miss it. Just go out 130 East all the way from Shelbyville out, and you will see the churches on your right and the Raus Community Center on Smith Chapel Road. Now, you guys have another fundraiser coming up. You want to talk a little bit about that, Linda?
Yeah, we don't have a bathroom facility in the community center. We use the churches across the way. We do have an outdoor john, but some people are not into that.
It's a little primitive. Would you say it's primitive for some people?
It's not as primitive as I have seen or it used to be, but it is.
It is concrete.
It is something that might be of risk if a snake were down in the bottom. But
you didn't have to mention that.
I know. But so. We've gotten the roof on, we've gotten the electrical done, we've gotten the foundation done, we've gotten the beams done, we've gotten the interior, fixed back and the kitchen area, but we don't have a bathroom. This coincides with also the need of Schaffner Chapel Church, used to be Schaffner Lutheran Church, who also does not have a bathroom. And so we kind of, with Ann Schaffner, Van Ayers, Martin Schaffner of that group, and I'm on that board too, but to talk. And so we decided we put together a kind of a combined fundraiser to work toward both facilities being able to have a restroom, because that opens you up, as Rebecca reminds me all the time. If we only had a bathroom, we could do this, or rent it out for this, or someone would be more interested if that, because we can't impose on the churches too much. So that's our goal, and see how we do. The fall, it's called Country Heritage Tour. It's September 21st. It's kind of a driving tour, but it involves one being able to go through the community center, the old schoolhouse there, the churches there, which date back to the early part of the century. And then on down the road, there's a cabin, Annerton Cabin, off John Brinkley Road, that's a very interesting landmark. Cutest little cabin in the world. You come on down Thompson Creek Road going toward 41A, and I call it the Cooper Place, but it's Beach Hall. It's Jim Cooper's house. and they have been gracious enough to open it up for a walking tour inside. Took us a while to get that organized and convince them that we needed to do this. But that house is post-Civil War house, right. But it's a landmark as you go to Tullahoma. You can see it as soon as you round the curve.
It looks like a mansion up on the hill.
It's a mansion on the hill.
You cannot miss it.
And I'm going to tell you, folks,
very beautiful
this
home.
is probably a one-time thing.
That would be my guess.
Yes, and so the tour of that it is probably the highlight. And then as you get on 41A and you go back toward Schaffner's Chapel is on the left. It will be open for a tour. Somebody will be there. And the cemetery. And then keep on going down the road and you hit where you turn off to go to Normandy. Van and Nancy Ayers' farm is there, and he always has a beautiful fields of sunflowers, and so he's going to plant so that they're exactly blooming at that time. And there's pumpkin patch. I believe there'll be a photographer there. The FFA chapter from Chevrolet will be there to help, and I think they're going to grill hamburgers and hot dogs. And so it's a major event, and we're meeting frequently to get that all organized, but to, as I said, the purpose of it is to be able to move forward at least as much as we can, depends on how much money we get to take in, restroom facilities for both of those places. And that area, and Carol can help me on this, is part of that area is has a historical overlay. It's
called a National Register Historic District of Rural overlay. It takes in that whole district of historic farmland, and that is absolutely only the second one in the entire state. The first one being around Rattle and Snap down in Columbia, Rattle and Snap, Mount Pleasant area, and it incorporates not only the farmland that has been 2 century farms and original land grant farms, but it also includes that it has continued in historic rural agricultural background, and the cemeteries reflect the entire community, like Schaffner Lutheran, and all of us in the Thompson Creek Valley, if you will, from Duck River all the way back to Raus, is significant National Register historic places.
The overlay right now stops at about Kathy Road, and
it stops at the Anthony Mill.
Mine and Carol's dream is we can take it all the way. I'd like to take it all the way to Bulmer Cemetery, but at least as far up Thompson Creek Road as we possibly could. But that's a whole nother radio show.
So I guess right now you guys have a lot more information coming out later on this.
Yeah.
This
our
is
website. We have a website, so it'll be on there.
Well, let's talk about it. Mark your calendars, folks, for September 21st. Just mark your calendar for a what would you call this? What was the name of it again?
It's a heritage tour.
Country
Heritage Tour.
Right.
Country Heritage Tour out near the Ross Community, Thompson Creek area of Bedford County.
All 41A.
You guys say you had a website?
Rebecca's
well, it's in the works. It will hopefully go live by July 4th.
Okay. All right.
So ross10.org.
The bottom line is mark your calendars for September 21st for another great event out in the Ross community area.
Can I put in a plug for a couple other things happening in the 5th District?
Well, I guess you can.
On your dime?
Absolutely, because we're basically running out of time. So
I know, but you said we could go over.
I did. We have. Go ahead.
I want to say that Flat Creek in the first week in August usually is when they have their fundraiser.
Okay.
So to remind people of that, too.
They got a great community center down there as well.
They need money as much as we do.
Yep.
But then I'd like to talk 5 seconds on Normandy. Tomorrow they are having a dedication ceremony in Normandy from, I think it's 2 to 4, something like that. But around 2 o'clock there'll be a ribbon cutting. And what this is all about is, or what started it, I think, is that there were some gas pumps there at the market that was in the little straight run area there in Normandy. Well, when the market or that little store closed, the gas pumps went away. So there's been a move to put vintage-looking gas pumps back up there, and so that will be part of the activities tomorrow. Also, they're working on a memorial parkway of bricks that you can have your names put on, and the grand opening of the town hall. Normandy has not had a place.
They used to meet at the fire hall.
They used to meet at the fair hall, and now they have the town meetings in one of the buildings there close. But a formal town hall they've refurbished it, worked on it, and Rhonda Comstock's just been awesome. Charles Whitaker, the mayor. The flags or the banners that will be up too were from a donation made by some members of the community. So that's tomorrow from 2 to 4. There's music, all kinds of stuff. I'm sure food trucks and so forth and so on. It'd be a fun time. And Normandy's coming back, and I want to say that because it's on the far end of the county. They've got a new market there at the Lucky Duck, Charles Baker's place. They've got repaving redone recently with a grant, and Normandy's just coming back. So last thing I wanted to say was a shout out to Brian Bruce, who's a Normandy resident, and Brian this is his 30th year to work for the county in the emergency service area.
He's a paramedic on an ambulance and supervisor.
Yeah.
Does a great job.
And so a shout out to him. 30 more years, please.
Man, that's
Brian.
a long time to be in that business.
Yes, very. I think he is the first. So, but so much activities going on in the 5th District. Scott and I both are proud of that, and we invite you to take part in all of our festivities, and especially our fundraisers, all of us, as we, have fun.
Yeah, I'll have to say that the Normandy mayor and aldermen down there are doing, they've got such a good group down there, kind of bringing back that historic Normandy and doing all the things they need to do. And some of it's been some pretty tough things they're having to do down there, but they're doing a great job. So if you get a chance, folks, come out at 2 o'clock tomorrow. I've already seen those historic gas pumps. They look really neat, and they'll be having a nice summer. A great group of people down there, very friendly. So come on out to the far reaches of Bedford County, almost Coffee County, out there in Normandy. Folks, this morning we've been talking to Carol Roberts, Rebecca Parker, and Linda Yockey about the Raus Community Center and the multitude of things they have going on out there. Don't forget, second Saturday of the month, you can come out and come to the Community Center at 6 p.m. at 125 Smith Chapel Road if you want to see what's going on at the Community Center. But don't forget about the ice cream supper, which is Saturday, a week from now, June 8th at 5 p.m. Folks, this is Scott Johnson on behalf of Hopkins Farm Broadcasting, the only locally owned radio station here in Bedford County. Until next time.